Hey everyone, it's Tracy here, back with another video. So I'm starting with a piece of Tim Holtz watercolor cardstock, and I'm going to use my Gansai watercolors for this. I'm just going to kind of freestyle on the background and just add a little bit of bright color. I have my paintbrush and a cup of water, and I'm going to use 3 different colors, and they're oranges and yellows and reds. So I'm starting with the number 31, which is Scarlet Red. And I just add a little bit of water to that and then put it onto my watercolor cardstock. And then you can see me dipping my brush and adding some more water because then it just blends out even better. So then I'll add my next color, which is yellow. And that is number 43, which is Mid Yellow, it's called. And all of these you can see the little numbers right below them, and then the name of them was on the packaging, so that's what I'm reading from in case you're wondering. And I have the big 36-piece set. I'm not gonna lie, when I was looking at purchasing this, I was not going to get the big set at first. I was just gonna get one of the smaller sets because it is an investment. These are not cheap watercolors. But I decided to just go with the big one because I didn't want to regret getting the smaller one at first. But I really love these. If you watched my videos before, usually I color with the Distress inks for my watercolors, but these are really different. The color is a lot more pigmented and just really bright, fun colors. So if it is something you're looking at, I think I would recommend getting the larger set. There's just more colors and there's a few metallic colors as well. The orange that I used, I'll mention that quick, was number 33, which is orange is what it's called. And then I went ahead and let this background dry completely. So while I was letting that dry, I moved on. I'm using this stamp set from Hero Arts. And I'm going to heat emboss this on a piece of vellum. So I cut my vellum down to size, and I originally cut it at 3 3/4 by 5 inches, and I was going to use this entire square over my watercolors. You'll see I kind of switched it up in the end though, because I'll explain that later on. But I'm inking my stamp with Versamark ink, and then I'm going to stamp it right on top of my vellum. So I'll push down until I get all of the areas covered because I want a really good impression on there. And then I can go ahead and lift that up and peel off my piece of vellum. And then I'm going to take my liquid platinum embossing powder from Ranger and cover that entire piece of vellum. I have my tweezers holding it on one end just because otherwise I don't want my fingers to touch any of the Versamark or the embossing powder. Then I went ahead and shook off the excess. Now I'm going to go ahead and take my heat tool and just heat that until all that embossing powder is melted. I let my heat tool heat up a little bit because once it's really warm, then it melts it right away and it doesn't make the vellum warp at all. Alright, so I just finished heat embossing that and then set that aside. So now I'm taking the Lawn Fawn stitched party banners, and I'm actually only using the stitched circle die. So I'm going to die cut that out of a piece of white cardstock. And this is going to be where I put my sentiment on my card. So I'll go ahead and take my Cuttlebug out, and then I'm going to run that through my Cuttlebug. And I use the C plate, the A plate, the C plate, my paper, die, and then the B plate when I cut with my Cuttlebug. And then on that piece of white cardstock, I'm just going to stamp the flowers that I'm going to use. This set is from the Alleyway Stamps. It's called Pick One. And I'm using multiple different inks from different companies for this. First, I'm just going to take the stamps that I want to use on my card. So I have a larger flower die, and then one of the leaves, and then one of the smaller flowers, and then one of the little circles to stamp in the center of the flowers. So I'll start with stamping my larger flower, and I'm going to make that yellow, so I'm going to use the Simon Says Stamp Sunshine ink. It's a really kind of golden yellow color. I'm going to ink that up really well and then stamp that right onto my cardstock. And you'll be able to see it's a little splotchy at first, but it's definitely going to smooth out the more I let it set. And then I'm taking the Wild Orchid from Ranger. It's a really pretty orchid color. And if you saw one of my videos before using this inks, it wasn't stamping very well, and I just didn't know if it was the stamps or what it was, but this stamped extremely well, and I was really happy with the results from that. And then I'm going to stamp the centers in each of those flowers, and I'm just using the soft granite ink. And this is kind of more or less a guide because I'm actually going to cover those centers anyway, so you could use whatever color you wanted. And then I'm using the Lawn Fawn Freshly Cut Grass for the leaves. And this is the only Lawn Fawn ink that I have and the first time I've used it. And it's a lot like the Hero Arts inks, but I was extremely surprised because it didn't stain my stamp at all, which the other inks do. So let me know if the darker Lawn Fawn inks also stain. Just because that was one of my biggest pet peeves when I started stamping. I didn't like if they stained it. It's not so bad now, but I was just curious to know. So that piece that I heat embossed on, I told you I was going to leave it as a square, but it took away too much of my background, so I decided to cut a circle from Spellbinders, and that's going to go right behind my sentiment circle. So I made sure that it was large enough that you could still see that heat embossing on. For my sentiment, I'm using the W+9 Freshly Cut Floral stamp set, and I chose the Hello sentiment, and I'm just stamping that on my white die cut circle with Tuxedo Black Memento ink. And then I'm going to go ahead and adhere those circles together, so I'll just place that right in the middle of my heat embossed vellum piece. And then I have a craft card base, so that measures A2 sized, and I just took a piece of 8.5 by 11 cardstock and cut it in half the long way. And then I just folded that in half, and I can go ahead and adhere my watercolor piece onto that. I'm adding lots of adhesive just so that it doesn't warp my card base. Alright, and then I'm going to go ahead and adhere my sentiment circle down. And I'm just putting adhesive where the white cardstock is, that way you don't see it behind the vellum at all. Just placing that right in the center, and then I can go ahead and put my flowers on there, just arrange them how I want them to go. So I'll start with my flowers. I'm going to adhere the leaves down first since those will be in the back. And I'm just going to use a little bit of my Tombow Mono Multi Glue. I'm just making sure there's enough space where my flowers will fit in there and my leaves will still be showing, they won't be hidden. And then I'm also going to adhere that large yellow flower with my Tombow Mono Multi Glue and just place that right over the top of those. And then for the orchid flowers, I'm using some 3D foam squares. And I really like how this purple kind of is a contrast to the orange and yellows of the background. It really makes it pop, and I just think this is a really fun, bright card for spring or summer. So I'll remove the backings off my 3D foam squares, which are from Best Creation. And then I'm going to place those down slightly overlapping my leaves and my yellow flowers. Alright, and then I'm going to scatter some sequins from Pretty Pink Posh. These, I have two different sizes. I have the 6mm and the 4mm, and these are white sequins. So I'm just randomly placing them on my card base, and then I adhere them down with some Tombow Mono Multi Glue. Just put a little dot of adhesive and then stick the sequin right on top of it. And then, like I said, I'm going to cover the center of each of the flowers, that little circle that I stamped in there, and I'm going to use this Irresistible embellisher. It's kind of like Wink of Stella and Glossy Accents combined. This one is in the color gold though, and it has this really fine tip that you can get into smaller areas, which I like a lot better than, like, say, Glossy Accents, because that one is a lot larger of a tip. But I'm just outlining and coloring in each of those circles in the middle, and I really like how that looks on the card. And it even the gold shows up really well against the yellow ink on my larger flower. So then that is my finished card for today. Hopefully you all enjoyed this fun and bright card, and then I am giving away a $20 gift certificate to Simon Says Stamp. I'll have the link below to my blog post and all the information to enter the giveaway. It's just the easiest way for me to keep track of all the entries and everything. So thank you so much for watching. Don't forget to subscribe and give this video a thumbs up if you enjoyed it, and I'll see you guys back here next time. Bye!